Good day, my name is Bluesuit and today we'll be talking about the much anticipated Lazarus update to the Viking era god-killing Norse adventure RPG that is Rune II. Originally released in November 2019, Rune II had a laundry list of bugs and questionable design choices, and it really felt like an incomplete game. The original development team, Human Head Studios, actually went out of business and was absorbed by Bethesda one day after the game's launch, leaving the publisher, Ragnarok Games, with a brand new garbage game and no one to improve it. Over the next 6 months, Ragnarok took over development duties and have been actively trying to navigate this warship back into smoother waters. But like I said, today we'll be talking about the Lazarus update and whether or not it makes Rune II worth the money. So let's get started. After a surprisingly good character creator, you wake up to the voice of Heimdall, protector of the Bifrost, explaining that the gods have been robbed of their strength. Loki has brought on the end of the world, and it's up to you to hunt down sacred Norse artifacts, travel to his realm, and destroy him for good. Graphically, I was really impressed with Rune II. The environments, villages, water, and enemies were all fantastic, and the story is also really well done. It's not going to win any awards for creativity, but it's well written, and there are tons of codex entries for those looking to learn more about Midgard and beyond. The individuals who fill the world, however, have some of the most jarringly bad voiceovers that I have heard in a while. Sure, Odin and Thor sound great, but the lowly villagers that you encounter sound like the devs were just recording people they met on the street. The game's combat is so close to being solid. There are 8 different weapon types that all felt unique, and I found 7 or 8 different runes in the game. The thing with the runes is that they're destroyed when you use them, so I didn't really start using them until much later in the game when I had a ton stocked up or crafted. There are a couple large flaws that keep the combat from greatness though, and the first is bugs. The spear, for example, was always bouncing off the ground because I was aiming too low even though I was locked onto an enemy. Or the bow, which isn't bugged itself, but it's way too easy to exploit the bad AI who gets stuck on doorways and ledges. The other larger issue with combat is that you never really feel in control of your attacks. Your attacks are based on what direction you're traveling when you push the attack button, but it never really felt consistent. And with the hitboxes being super precise in Rune II, it was frustrating to get punished for doing an attack that I didn't want to. Rune II's best feature is the gear. This is what kept me hooked. Any enemy you kill or chest you open has that small chance there could be something better than what you have. Finding my first legendary weapon felt amazing as I went from struggling in combat to carving through groups of bandits like it was nothing. Most enemies and gear do scale to your level. It's not like you'll be strong forever, but it's nice to have a few levels of being overpowered before the enemy stats catch up. The crafting complements the gear system really well. In most games, it seems like between crafting and looting, one of them was just an afterthought, but here there's a real balance. The gear that you craft usually has better stats, but only gear you find in the wild has passive buffs. And Rune II does have a fair share of difficult mini-bosses to give you an extra high chance at some good loot. There are 2 major issues that keep me from getting the most out of this game, and they're both highly questionable design choices. The first is intended to make the game more difficult, I guess. Rune II has several mechanics that involve punishing players in ways that just weren't fun. For starters, there's no pause button. You have to actually quit out to the main menu to pause the game. When you do load back in, you might load right into a fight, or in my case have all of your crafting side quests reset. Additionally, if you do go AFK, there's Loki, who periodically summons meteors and mobs of enemies onto your head just to mess with you. And if you're AFK, this kills you, and also does a fair amount of damage to your gear. By the way, if your gear breaks, it's gone, forever. So hopefully it was something you knew how to craft. Finally, there's the Age of Frost. During the Age of Night, the sun never comes up. It's really hard to see. I thought that would be the worst of it, but the very next age was the Age of Frost, where a blinding white blizzard rages on the entire map for an entire age, with the exception of occasional brief periods of visibility. It was terrible. And if you're curious, an age lasts from the time you first spawn until you fight Loki. Essentially 2 or so hours of playing this game while only being able to see a few feet in front of you. That kind of brings me to my final gripe with Rune II. After you gather your artifacts and you destroy Loki, you find out that you can't actually kill him unless you're wielding a special sword that can only be crafted from the rarest materials at level 31. So you beat Loki, he casts you out, leaving you to try again in another age. The problem with that is I first beat him at level 11. And while there was still much of the map for me to explore, the game basically becomes a grind fiesta to level 31 so that you can finally see the game's ending. It's a good game, and it's made by people who really believe in it and want it to succeed, but I don't think it's ready quite yet. Hopefully it will be by the time it comes to Steam. Right now on the Epic Game Store, Rune II is $30, but that's not right. The beautiful graphics and addicting progression are still undercut by a few key design choices and a couple of bugs, so I'm valuing Rune II with the Lazarus update at $16. There's going to be a lot more value than that to someone who really enjoys the grind, but most players are going to feel cheated if they pick it up at full price right now. I hope you enjoyed this review of Rune II. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time, peace!